or Prashant?
Not yet, sir.
Okay. What about Rishabh and Sayan?
No,
Not
it's
yet.
just finished GA1 for the deadline. So I'll just start the GA2 in a few days.
Okay, all right. So in that case, I'll quickly give an overview. So this GA2 is going to be a little time consuming in some sense, as in it requires some amount of work to be put in. So I hope my screen is visible. Okay. Yeah. So if you all have not seen what this assignment is about, so it is asking you to pick a hometown or a city you are familiar with, and you're supposed to create a schematic map. So what are the first steps that you could follow are mentioned here. We'll see this one by one. And there are some references given here. I don't think the hyperlink is there appropriately, but you could simply click this and the page should open. Okay. Yeah. So this was the reference link given. So of that, I'll open one of them. So the reference links that are given to you are by students, I think, from a different college that is focused on design and related things. And the assignment they've done, I'll show to you one of them at least. So you first start off with a place that you are familiar with. So this individual here has chosen this particular place. And when you are building a schematic map, the things that are important for it are your target audience and what is the place about, a general introduction that you need to give. So who is this map going to be targeted to? And after that, the first thing that we say is the mental model sketch, which is wherein you can take a pen and paper and based on memory, mark out the places as you remember it. Like if any of you have come to the IIT Madras campus, some things you'll know from memory are there are three primary gates, the Adair gate, Velachery and Taramani gate. And you have your Gajendra Circle, and then you come to the OIT Open Air Theatre, and if you keep going, you go towards the hostel zone, Himalaya MS, and so on. So this is something that you can draw out from memory, and if you pick a place that you're very familiar with, I'm sure you too will be able to roughly give out a sketch such as this. Once you do that, here you can see this particular student has gone through multiple iterations of that particular location, and this was his final product, which is a schematic. Okay. And let's actually go to one more where they have done it a bit more step by step, because that is kind of what is expected of you all as well. So this is the example that I wanted to show. So here, as you can see, he has first introduced us to some basic things like what is the purpose of this one, what is the scale of this map, and who is the target audience. So he started with a mental model sketch, then traced the relevant aspects from OpenStreetMaps. So that part also I'll show it. And he decided to go with the nicest one. I think it is called as Diamond Garden, and he decided to go with this diamond pattern within which he has fit his map. So as you can see, this is the original sort of mapping that was there. This is the cutout portion from it, and he has taken the liberty to slightly modify it to fit in this structure. So as you can see, this diamond structure that you see here is not entirely how the original map is, but it appears as the 45 and 90-degree line that is easy to read, and it also serves its purpose, that is, it tells you where different locations are. And then elements of visual hierarchy. Visual hierarchy is an important aspect, which is what does, as the reader, when he sees it, what are the things that his eye is going to focus on, which are the primary things which come next and all that. So with that, he has finally come to this, and he has done some modifications to it. So wherein the places are mentioned, the paths that can be taken, and his general, this was, I think, about where you can take a walk in this diamond garden, something like that. Okay. So this is how it is. So is the objective of the assignment clear to all of you? Okay. So with that,
Sir, one thing which is not clear is we have to use any tool to create this maps.
yeah, so using a tool is what is going to make it easy, because as you can see, getting this particular one, like your this particular course does not mandate you to use any specific tool. So I think it must have been previously mentioned as well. The focus is on design principles, and during the process of doing the assignments and the project, you're going to end up exploring tools. So there is no hard and fast rule, but two of the tools that can help you with this is one of them is called as Inkscape and the other is called as Figma. So I'll be showing Inkscape briefly today, and there are two excellent sort of tutorials that are done by a TA in the previous term. I'll be providing the links to those as well. It is there in the channel. So this is the data visualization YouTube channel, and I think if you go to the previous live session, there should be a tool demonstration session. Yeah, so this is one of them, Dataviz session 3 tool demo, and there is another one. I'll find the link and I'll share it. So these two tools, one of them is through Inkscape and the other is through Figma. So you can choose whichever one you prefer. Inkscape is said to be a little harder as compared to Figma because it has a lot more tools, and Figma has lesser number of tools, but it does more or less the same thing. It gives less control, but you can get the same results. Okay, so this is the objective of the particular assignment, and first and foremost, there will be some important aspects. Maybe I'll show the tool first and then get back to it. Yeah, any questions on what you need to do in the assignment? Is that clear? Okay. So let me show the tool now briefly. Okay. So firstly, this is the location that I've picked. So I'm going to be doing a very simple version of this assignment, and you can extend the ideas to it. Okay. So the place I've picked is an engineering college in Mysore. It is one that I had done my bachelor's in. So this college is called as SJC, and this is that area. So this is a relatively simpler one. And the same thing in OpenStreetMaps, if you look for it, this is how it looks. I hope it's visible. Okay. So once you get this particular area, so now I've picked this area because this is something I'm familiar with. And so you can go for either the OpenStreetMaps version or the Google Maps version. Most of the time you'll have to be switching between both of them to find information. Like now that I've picked this particular place, so your first task is to think of a place you're familiar with. And then along with this comes the other part. Who is your target audience? What do you want to convey? And here I'll be showing things like the main areas of the particular campus. Like this is the administrative block. Then there are civil engineering and some other department here. There are a couple of grounds here. The computer science department. Then there's a polytechnic area. There's a cricket ground. And there's another department. So these are the primary areas that I want to sort of cover in this particular one. Likewise, the same thing you'll find on OpenStreetMaps as well. And so I'm going to take a screenshot of this. I am going to use this image for reference. So I hope you are familiar with getting a screenshot. You can use the snipping tool and all that. And I'm going to put it on. Okay, I think this tool is not visible. Okay, Now is the Inkscape tab is visible, right? So this Inkscape is a tool. Yeah, so Inkscape is a tool that I'm going to use for this particular assignment. As soon as you open a new document, this is how it is going to be there. Okay. And if you scroll with mouse up and down, it goes this way. There is another bar to move sideways. And if you want to zoom in and out, you can hold Control and use the mouse wheel. And once you've done that, you saw that previously I took a screenshot of the particular area. So I'm going to paste it by using Control V. So now I have the first step. This is, I'm ready to work with this particular area, this image. Perhaps I should share the whole thing. Yeah. So I'm ready to work with this. And if you look at the assignments, this is kind of how it started. Of course, the mental model sketch is something you'll be doing, and then an area from the map. So also feel free to refer to the previous assignments that students had done. I think this is from your previous batch. They did a mental model sketch, and then they take a version from the map, and then they trace the path. So that will be the next task, tracing the path. So when I had done this, one of the ways you can trace a path is you can use something like, if you have a tablet, it will be very easy to trace it on that. But you can do it by hand on this one, or you can use a tool such as Figma or Inkscape as well and do it. Now, once you have this, the next thing that you see in the schematic map is, we go back to this, it uses this diamond shape, this sheet that you see. I think it's called as an axonometric grid or something. If you also search for 4590 grid or something, if you also search for 4590 grid paper, it should be available. And once you get that, so either you can choose to put the axonometric paper here. I'm going to add that as well. So I already have it downloaded. Now it comes in your canvas. So as you can see, it has covered the whole thing. So I've zoomed out using Control and the mouse wheel, and I'm moving it to the side. Then the original space is back here. Sorry. So this grid that is there, this grid paper is something you can use to draw the 45 and 90 degree lines. So I'll come to how you can use it. Like now this particular thing that is there, it exists as an image. So Inkscape gives you a tool that allows you to extract this particular lines out of it. So I can select this image, go to path, and in path, there is an option called as trace bitmap. So if I click on trace bitmap, you can see that a window opens on the side. There are different detection modes for it. By default, it's on brightness cutoff. Once I click on apply, I can drag the sheet out of it. So if you can see, there's now a grid lines that has come out of it. Is this clear how this was done? At any point, if this part is not clear, you can stop me. Okay. So what I did is, this is called as a 4590 grid paper, also known as axonometric sheet. So you can download it online and you can upload it using file, import, and go to the location. Then select this particular image, go to path, click on trace bitmap, and then come here and click on apply. So once you do that, you are going to get this sheet. And now this sheet is what we are going to use to draw those lines. And by lines, I'm referring to these lines. So this one, if you can see, is either in 45 degree or in 90 degree. So is it mandatory? Not necessarily, but it's good to have it that way. Okay. Yeah. So 45-90 degree lines. So now this particular sheet that I have, you can see it is much larger than my map. So I'm going to click on this symbol that looks like a lock, which is to fix the aspect ratio. And now I can drag and drop to change its size. So when you click, there are two different kind of arrows that come. So if you see this arrow, it is to decrease the size. Whereas if you click it again, it helps you to rotate it. So this way you can rotate it. Control Z, I just undid it. And then you can click it again to decrease the size. Now I'm going to move it in the sheet. I'm going to zoom in further to what I have. probably reduce the sheet further. Okay, and now I'm ready to place it on the area. Okay, so this is the primary area. Now that I have this particular grid map on top of this, I'm going to start drawing the basic structure. So if you look at this reference one, he first has the roads that are drawn. So I'll go for something similar. So one of the key things that you will be doing in this tool is a lot of zooming in and out. So depending on what area you're working in, you can just zoom towards that, keep your pointer there, hold control and use mouse wheel. Okay. Now that I'm here, I'll first show a tool called as the pen tool. Okay, it is for drawing this thing called Bezier curves. And there will be a magnet symbol on this corner. So it is called a snapping tool. So if you switch it on, it is going to help this particular pen snap onto these particular locations. This, whatever we extracted using trace bitmap, they're actually nodes. So if I click on this second one here, so this is the select tool. The second one is the node tool. You can see that these nodes are present. So now when I use this pen tool for drawing Bezier curves, it helps to snap onto those locations. So I'm going to first start by clicking this particular node. And then if you hold control and drag, it draws a straight line. I'm going to continue drawing until this part. So this is going to be the first one that I have. And I click. So once I click, it will continue again. I'll draw it downwards as well. So I want to stop maybe here. Okay. Again, I'm holding control. That is what is helping with the straight lines as well. If not, you can use the grid paper for reference. Again, I continue along this particular version. And when it comes here, you can zoom in to make sure it snaps properly. And again, I've clicked. So another upwards one, I click it and it has closed. So now I've done 4 clicks for the 4 roads. And as you can see, sometimes this thing, it entirely is filled in here. So this is because of stroke and fill. So you can see there is a fill option here and a stroke option here. It should also be present in, it is present in object and fill and stroke as well. So if you click it again, it pops up on the side and you can click on fill and stroke here. So now that we are in the fill and stroke section, so I'm going to give fill as 0, no paint. You can see the second option is selected. If I give on no paint, that thing goes. Now I need the stroke. For stroke, I'll click on flat color, the second option. You might notice that a tiny border has come. And here I'm going to increase its width to 3 millimeter. Okay, 3 millimeter is clearly too much. So I'll go for 2 millimeter. This is better. So now you can see that there is an outline of a road that is there. Now the concern might be that it is not exactly aligning how the original map is. That is totally fine. So that is how schematic maps will be. It is similar to if you've seen the metro maps or if you've seen the map in the campus or some other amusement park maps. So these things largely are to give you a sense of direction as to what things are present and where they are present. So with this, I've drawn one large section of a road. Now I can continue further. I'll draw another maybe set of roads. So you can, again, zooming in is going to give you the accuracy. It will ensure that your this one will not have a mismatch of sorts. So again, I've held control. I'll stop it here. And now if I want to stop it without closing the polygon, I can click on enter. So again, the fill is full. So I'll go and give fill as 0. I'll click on stroke paint and stroke fill. I'll go back to 2 millimeter. And then click on select tool. And so this one version of roads are there. Is this okay? Any doubts so far? All right. So once I have this, I'll maybe draw some tiny roads as well, connecting roads. I'm again going to go to the Bezier tool. And I'll draw some lines here. This is for the internal road that you see here. and I'm going to give it a smaller size. I'll give 1 millimeter. I'll also give a different color. So color, you can see a palette here. So in the palette, I'll go for a grayish color. So now there are two things. One is the fill color and the stroke color. As you recollect, fill is what we made 0. And stroke is what we have as color here. So since we need it to have gray color, so for stroke, we need to change it to gray. So one of them is control click, that is for fill. And if I do shift click, then this one also turns gray. Okay, I'm holding down shift and clicking on the color here in the palette. So as you can see now, the stroke paint that we wanted has turned to gray. Likewise, I'll draw a couple more roads. And let's fill that also with gray color. Give it 1 millimeter. Zooming in will make sure. Now I think this is not perfectly aligned, but if I were to zoom in, it will make things easier and we can get it done accurately. Okay, so this I think should give you the general idea of drawing the roads for the schematic map. Yeah, any doubts, please unmute yourself and stop me right then and there. Now, what I've shown you here is the pen tool. And if you are willing to put in some time, you can actually directly go for this other one called as pencil tool, the second one. So with the pencil tool, I'll draw it on the side first. You can start drawing it like this. Okay, so this is a freehand drawing and I'm going to remove it. But if you were to click, then hold Control and drag. If I were to click and then hold Control and drag the line, it is actually going to remain straight. I don't know if it's visible. There's this tiny red line. Can you all see this? So this line that is there, when I leave it freely, it goes as is randomly. But if I hold Control, it becomes a straight line. And it moves in angles of, I think, 15. So roughly, even when it is in 45, you can kind of eyeball it. So this way you can get rid of the grid lines, the 45, 90 degree grid line. Without using it, you can complete. So maybe I'll show an example. So I'll remove this grid line now. Go to select, move the grid line out. Yeah, now the grid line is selected. I move it out. And I'll draw one more section of roads here using the pencil tool this time. So I click here, then hold Control. And while holding Control, you need to drag it. Click again, and this line is drawn. So now I'm not making use of any of those 45, 90 degree tools. It's automatically taken care of by this. Okay, then you do the same process. You can reduce the fill. The stroke is anyway there. You can use Control and click and Shift and click for fill and stroke respectively to give the colors. Now you might notice one problem. So this gray color thing is overlapping this other, the black lines that are there. So for that you can go to layers, and here you can see all the layers also. So you can move things up and down, and that will ensure that your selections are placed appropriately. So now this path 4 is above path 3. So now once I move it, you can automatically see that the gray path has gone below. So the roads part, I hope it's okay. Any doubts so far?
No, sir.
Yes, Prashant.
No, sir, everything is okay.
Okay, all right. So once you are done with the roads, then let's focus on some of the buildings. So for that, you can make use of these rectangular and circular drawing tools, again, if you hold Control and draw the circle, in this case it is Shift actually. So if you hold Shift and draw the circle, it is going to maintain its aspect ratio. Okay, so I can draw this circle. I'll move the circle to match this particular ground, and then for the other grounds, I'm going to draw a rectangle. One small rectangle here, another rectangle here. Then there is a building here. There's another building here. There is one more building here. And if you see the OpenStreetMaps, there are actually buildings here as well. So this way you can refer the maps and draw these locations. But these things right now you can see they have overlapped the map and it's not that clear. So what you can do is you can select them. So to select them, you can click one and then hold Shift and select the others. So now this way it is selecting all of them at once. And I'm going to reduce the opacity. So now you can see that it is kind of see-through at this point, and I can see what is present below. So now these will be the areas where my buildings are present. And next thing, I also want to add a bit of this. Okay, now actually we have this much, right? We'll get rid of the map because our final product will not have the map and will instead only have whatever we have done, the schematic version. Now you can see it looks like this. So as of now, it is still pretty bland. But the objective is that in your map, once all the locations are properly marked with all these boxes, it is going to look better. So before everything else, I'm going to put a background to this. So I've drawn this blue background, and what we'll do is we'll also change its color. I'll go for a light background. I've given it a light background and I'm going to move this particular layer to the last. So you can select this one, and here you can see some options. There is one option that says lower to bottom. When you do that, the other layers now come on top. And there was one portion of greenery here. So I'm going to show that also next. So for that, you can first draw a rectangular box. Okay. And let me change its color to something green. Maybe a lighter. Okay. This seems fine. And now I want to modify the shape of this particular box. So for that, what we can first do is go to path, and there's an option called as object to path. So object to path has now converted it to nodes. And now there are 4 nodes. So these nodes can be individually moved. So now as you can see, I have more control. And if you want to be very precise, as I mentioned, you can zoom it, take it to this particular point, and fit it here. Likewise with the other node as well. Okay, you can fit it this way. So this can be the greenery aspects that are there in your map, and you can move this. And if you want to create extra nodes, it's already in node tool. So you can just go to a spot and double click. So now it has created an extra node, allowing you to make shapes like this. If you ever need to make a shape like this where there's a road passing or whatever, you can fill the box like this. For being precise, it's always good to move this zoom in and move it. Okay. So is this one okay? So with this, what do we have? We first drew the roads using fill and stroke, and that is we started with the pen tool. The pen tool along with the 4090 grid paper where we snapped it into those lines, and then we used fill and stroke to ensure that we just have the roads here. And then we went to the pen tool. Pen tool, you can keep holding control to ensure that the lines are straight or at a 45-degree angle, and you can use that to draw. Then we use this rectangle and circle options to create the important areas. So in this is going to be one building, these two are going to be grounds, and this was another building, and so on. So these are the tools that were necessary for us. And one of the nice things you can do is, for example, you see some assignment here. Okay. So this one, and you want to use the color combination from this. So you can click on copy image. You can come back here and you can click somewhere and do Control V. This has selected something else. Let me see. Copy image. Okay, so now it has brought his whole thing. So again, you can zoom out and then move this thing away. Use the select tool, move it away. And now, so this is what I was working with, this particular area. So I'm going to select, and if I want to give a different color, there is a color picking dropper tool here. There's also one here. So I'll use this one. I've clicked it here. And now maybe I want to give this color. So if I select it, it automatically changes to that. This, I don't know if it was noticeable. Let me try some other. Yeah, as you can see, yeah, it gives a different color. But yeah, you can click this way, and if you find some nice color somewhere, you can bring that also into this canvas and give that color. So far, so good. Any questions here? Okay. So now this part is done. The other tools you will be needing are to add text. So you can add text to your this one as well. There is a symbol called as text tool with the letter A. So if you click it, it allows you to add text at any location. So I'll probably click here and write it as cricket ground. Again, it is weirdly formatted, so select it and appropriately you can modify it. Maybe you can go for black. The opacity is too low, so increase it. Okay, so now that you have it done, so like I mentioned, there is two set of arrows. This is for rotating it. So if you ever want to rotate it, and if you click it again, there is a different kind of arrows. So now you can shrink it. Also, if you maintain the aspect ratio, it will make things easy. So this way you're going to place it here. Okay. So this is how it will be. So far we covered drawing roads using the two tools, drawing rectangles and circular shapes. We also saw the node tool to create additional node to give this extra kind of shapes here. And then the layers aspect. So whenever you want to move, now if I want to move this to the bottom, I can click on move it below. So this has not gone fully below. Another round, now it is below the road. So this way you can control which layers are on top and which ones are below. Yeah, so again it is below. So the other nice thing that you could do if you want to change all of them at once is, I mentioned holding shift and selecting them. So you can not just select, you can do Control G and then it works as a group. So I've clicked Control G, it is now a group. And if I go to the layers, there is also a group present. So I think G18 is that itself. So G18 has these three elements under them. And you can even select them in one go and change their color also in one go. So that is also an option that is there. So I just did a shift and click on this color palette here. So all the roads turned into red. Okay. So this is to control things in groups. So this is roughly how Inkscape works. The next part is creating icons. So if you recollect that 4590 tool, I put its image here, then I used trace bitmap. Likewise, you can look for icons. So maybe I want to do a cricket icon, something like that. So I'm going to click on copy image. I'm going to come back to Inkscape. So it has given me this here. Now directly I can't use this. So again, I'm going to go to path, click on trace bitmap and see if it can give me just the icon part of it. Yeah, as you can see, as soon as I click on apply, it overlaps the original image, but it has given me this particular icon now. So again, I'm going to make it smaller. I'm going to move it inside my diagram. inside the visualization, and I'm going to bring it here. Okay. So this is for adding new icons. So this is the rough overview I wanted to give for Inkscape. We saw the pen tool, the pencil tool, adding colors. We saw the different layers that are there. We saw about using converting object to path. That is when we want to add more nodes. We saw trace bitmap to get the 4590-degree paper or the icons and such. So these were the other things. Yeah, and the fill and stroke text and all that. So this is how you can draw your schematic map. So this is a very, very tiny example. So now I'm going to talk more about how the process will happen. So before that, I'll give you the links of the tutorials done by Ajay. So he has done an excellent job of doing two good projects, sort of mini versions of this one, this particular assignment in the two tools. So refer this. One of them is in Figma, one of them is in Inkscape. They are quite well done. They should cover everything that you need for this one. Okay. Okay. So now coming back to how this assignment is to be done, we saw the entire process, right? So this is, I think, one of your teammates itself who has done. I went through it. It was quite well done. So the first task you are going to do is give a good description. So as I mentioned, who is your target audience? Give an introduction, give a description of things, and what is the area. So if he has decided to go for, I mean, I probably should not critique this particular one, given that it is going to be evaluated later. Maybe I'll take the previous term submission, one of them. So you start with a description such as this. Yeah, you start with the description where you talk about the audience, the purpose, and all that, and give it in detail. It should be a good introduction. When you read it, you should know who is the target audience, and then you start with a mental model sketch where you draw it with pencil and paper, or pen and paper from memory. Do note that these are important things. So even if you cannot come to a very good final product, doing these steps will give you individual marks. Okay, so that will be there. And the more you describe your thought process, the better it will be. So if we see what your thought process is, it has value to it. And once you find the area, decide about what you're going to sort of mark in your map. So here, okay, here you wanted to go for the university area. He has picked the university area in Ahmedabad, and he has decided to show things like cafes, libraries, stadium, riverfront, airport, and such. So that will be the next task. Find out where all these locations are. Once you have that, he has gone for mapping it like this. You can even map it by hand. You can map the roads that you want to put in your project finally. As you can see, these are tiny versions of that maps, and he has stopped here. So do not stop here. Ideally, you will be proceeding further. Let me see if there is another version. So the good thing about this is you're not restricted from seeing any previous submissions or such. You can go through all submissions, you can learn from it, you can keep improving and redo things. So this is again a previous term student. I'll probably show one of them that I had done once. So if you refer many of these, you'll see, like, for example, let's go through this one also. The student started with a sketch. He has shown the important places. Then he has marked it, drawn the roads as we just saw. And then has done these markings. He removed the background map. added a background color, and it stopped here. So as I said, this course is about design principles. So can one of you all tell me what issues you all see with this? What could have been done better?
The
The
contrast
color,
in the colors might
yeah,
be improved.
Okay, contrast and colors. What else?
the text is also very small, and you can see they haven't thought about the typology.
Correct. So the font that they use or the typography in terms of the font size also is not very well thought of. Anything
No,
else?
no
There could be
icons.
I
more
think
icons and buildings.
Yeah.
Right. Icons and buildings. What else?
I think he's not properly aligned the rectangles, like
It
usually
is
in
not
the left
properly
side.
aligned. Yes. Perfect.
I
What
think
else?
it's hard to find any a specific campus. Like you need to first look at number 13, then you will have to check what is number 13. Then you will have to look match it.
Right.
So I think it takes away the
So
convenience.
what could have been done instead?
I think he can use icon like
Yeah,
for
using
camp.
icons would have improved things. And as one of you all pointed out, you can see here that the roads were not matched. Here, they don't fit in properly. It's coming out of the canvas. And this extra rectangle, it the colors and contrast don't go that well. But the problem you'll realize, which is why I was first asking how many of you all have started, is once you start this project, you realize that this is a time-consuming affair and this is a difficult task. Okay, so let's actually also critique the work that I had done, and there are a lot of things all of us can make fun of in that. So let's go for that as well. Yeah. So I think before that, I should also show one of the good ones that I had seen. So amongst those of you who joined later, anyone here who has started this assignment? Okay. Okay, so go through all of these, and you can even spend an hour critiquing what others have done, so that you can take out the good and also make sure that you don't do the bad aspects in it. In the meantime, okay, this is one that I wanted to show. What do you all think of this visualization on screen? I mean, this is not done by me. This was by one other student in the same term. Yeah. So what do you all think of this one? Any thoughts on this? You can say the good things or the bad things about this. Okay, no takers, fine. So this is by a student called as Hanani. So he had done this during the course, where he describes a journey that he had had. So in terms of the lines and the design elements that are there are less of them, but it conveys a story very well. So it gives all the different places. There is very good legend that is given. Different kind of dashed lines and solid lines are used to show things. The icons are good for airport, for a cafeteria, for a restaurant, and this conveys a story. So I'm not saying this is how you should go, but visually this is very appealing. One thing that you'll see in everything else, the color choice is not that great, and it is something which I think I also have done poorly. We'll also see the breakup of how he has done things. So this was his mental map, and then he went it on the Google Maps. He showed the locations. Then there was a sketch of it. Then when you remove the map, this is how it looks. And then simplify it, add the grid paper to draw the lines, then remove the redundant stuff and start labeling. So this gave the final product. So this is another one. So this looks very good until here. So the lines and all are very well done. So the advantage of this is also the location that was chosen inherently had lines such as this, roads such as this. So here it looks okay, but then the color combination I wouldn't say is that great, right? So this could have been chosen better. It also feels incomplete. Labeling could have been done here, so this was unnecessary.
All icons also look similar.
Right, the icons also look similar. I think for the most part, one set was for coaching center, the other was for banking, food court, and all that. But banking and food court, both of them are different kind of stars. So even parking and I think this was supposed to be florist. I don't know. They also are very similar icons. So that was again not that great. So this is another one that was nice. So they tracked it, they did the path. Here I feel the colors are a little better chosen, but still it is quite simple. And yeah, so this is what I had done. So this is a mental model sketch of my city. So I'm originally from a place called Mangalore. I drew the city, took the part from the map. This is from Google Maps. This is from OSM. And my target audience, at least for me, was that I wanted to talk about what the place is famous for. So for a tourist, from a point of view of what a tourist would do. So the place is very famous for its beaches and for the temples that are there. Temples, beaches, and then comes some major attractions. Food is also quite famous and so on. So this is what I primarily wanted to convey. So for that, I first marked only the important roads. So the ones in the black are the main highways or state highways that are there. And the ones in brown here are the internal roads that are there. So this one I did through my tablet. I sketched it manually. I traced it manually. Then I used the bitmap paper as I had shown. You can even do away without it. Like Figma and all, it's much easier to do away without it. And then those same roads, I did it with the 45-90 degree line. So internal roads were gray, the main roads were black, and I used blue to indicate rivers. And then I removed those other things for simplification, and I just marked specific dots as to where these locations are present of all these attractions. Once that was done, I brought in a background for land, water, and this was a forest area to show that green. And after that, I added icons. So I think you can see an umbrella and sand icon for beaches. This was for a fort. This ship, aeroplane, and one more to rail to indicate the port, airport, and the railway station. Then there was one for hospital, amusement park, zoo. Then these are for temples. There is a waterfall, and there is an ice cream parlor that is quite famous there. So then, of course, came the labeling. And after the labeling, I went to go for the final one, where the labeling is better. I've added a compass and the legend as well. So now let's talk about the bad things in this one. What could have been done better?
I think
The
icon
Yeah,
background.
color scheme icons look similar. Shop.
Maybe white is good for icons coloring.
Yeah, okay. Icons could have been done better. Anything else?
The typography is same.
Typography, okay. So typography, I've primarily gone for having it readable, but I get what you're saying. So one thing you could consider is for the primary locations, you can go for a different kind of presentation. For the others, you can go for something else. And iconography, clearly, as many of you all mentioned, this I do not like it at all. So it was done like first I took the bitmap copy of it. You all remember the cricket ground wala example. Take the image, go to paths, go to trace bitmap, click on apply and drag it out. Once that is taken, I use the circle option that was there to create a background, and then I merge the two of them. I showed the grouping one, right? Control plus G. So you group it and you get this. But then the color, this is very poor. So colors definitely should have been better. The land and the water and this forest texture should have been good. Even I think the spacing wise and labeling things could have been done better. Okay.
And I have one question. What
Mhm.
you are indicating in this river for like a very dense line, like
This
yeah,
line
inside.
is very thick, is what you're saying, is it?
Yeah, yeah. What you are indicating? What is this
So this
for?
is to give a geographic outlook of the place. So here, this is actually, this entire area is a beach. There is rivers flowing here and here. So this is the how the geographic location is. So this brownish color is to indicate land, greenish is to indicate forest area, and blue is to indicate the river areas that are there. That is another thing I should have
Okay,
thought of.
like this is river bed, we
Yeah,
can
yeah,
say.
yeah. So this side is all rivers and water. So one thing I didn't think of then is the top part, giving it blue, it might make it look like this is an island. Whereas this is only for title, I gave a different background and the place is not an island. Okay. But of course, this way I want you to look at the other examples as well. So there was one by some sketch and then the map area, and it stops here. Okay. So clearly you can now, when you see this, you understand what better you could have done, right? So this feels quite incomplete. This one has the lines again, color combination. I keep coming back to it. If you look at what the design school students have done, the colors are very good. It's very pleasant to the eye. So do make sure you refer all of these. And yeah, the reason I showed my submission specifically is that it took me between 10 to 20 hours to come to that final version. So from deciding what area I want to talk about, then deciding on the specific locations, my target audience, then finding and marking them on a map, understanding the tool Inkscape, that took a good amount of time, and then finally placing them, coloring. Because if you see, many times the roads and all, it won't match what is there in the map. So you have to decide where it is okay to slightly fudge the original roads and what can be done. So look at these. These are by the design school students. You can see that the color combinations are definitely better, right? So I would suggest that you aim for this. One of the things I had done is copy paste this image. I think I showed it to you all also. You can right click, copy image, go back to your work area, either Figma or Inkscape, and then use the dropper tool to get these particular colors as well. Y'all recollect how to do that, right? If not, also I don't know if Ajay has covered it, but it should be quite straightforward to explore on your own. So with that, I think we cover this assignment. So firstly, start with scale audience purpose. That is, what area are you doing? What is it famous for? Give an introduction. Who are your target audience? Do you want it to be tourists? If you want to talk about some people have spoken about coaching centers. Some people have spoken about hospitals in an area. Some people have spoken about temples while going to a pilgrimage. So this way, who is your target audience? Then go for the mental model sketch. Then trace those elements from OpenStreetMaps or Google Maps. Then reduce it to the grids and geometric shapes. These are the roads and those particular buildings. Then remove out whatever is unnecessary. Add elements of the city, the ones that you want to highlight. Visual hierarchy is, as I mentioned, what is the first the reader is going to be captivated by first. So what are the things you want him to focus on in some sense? Then you have to make sure of icons, typography, legend, and context. As much as possible in your submission, give as much details as you can. And for things that you might want to consider is what area to focus on. So if it's a place that you know well, it is going to be much easier for you to do this assignment rather than place that you might have visited once or some other place that you have heard of. It might be much simpler if it is a place that you know well. That way you know what are the, because the objective is that you should also give out some insights which might not be highlighted in a traditional map. So if you have some insider info from having lived there or being familiar with that place, you can bring it out in your map. Okay. So that is it primarily. Any questions? Okay. Yeah, as I mentioned, this is an assignment that takes time. So do get started with it as soon as you can.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of doing like a city-wide kind of like walking area, something like that.
Right.
So I was just wondering because, or I was thinking maybe I can do something statewide camping or something like that. So I was just wondering if it's going to be a bunch of kind of disconnected locations, can I do like multiple maps like in the same illustration? I'll just
So
put
if it's
them
a
side
city-wise
by
thing,
side.
it is fine. So ideally, you want to have it as one schematic map that
Mhm.
holistically talks about one particular to one target audience and one thing that you want to communicate. So state-wise,
Yeah,
if you want to show the camping areas, that is fine. But I would still suggest showing the roads in all that places and fitting it in one map.
yeah, but the issue becomes that I want to focus on, let's say, the trail or like the walking area, right? So if it's like I won't be able to I won't be able to focus on the details if I have to kind of make it on one map. So I was wondering if I can just chop up the
Yeah, so in
uh,
that case, you can even talk about just one trail as well. If you want to talk about one
okay,
camping area and one trail, that is also absolutely fine. Which is why I showed even the work by Hanani, right? It was one particular topic, one area, one task, but it was done well. So that way, it is absolutely
okay,
fine to start small, go with something, but do it well. That way, okay?
okay, sir. So if there is less amount of details or elements, I can just do two and kind of put them side by side.
Yeah, you can consider that, but make sure you give a context, like show a version of the city also, and highlight that these are the two locations you are going for.
Yeah, I'll try to tag like a Google Maps link or something like that.
Yeah, okay. Make sure you give the appropriate context.
Sure.
So if necessary, you all can start posting whatever you have done in the GitHub issue, and you can just keep editing and updating it. That way, even if you need some reviews, you can tag the instructors in the chat space, and you can verify things, whatever is needed. Okay. All right, then that's it from my end. If there's nothing else, we can close the session.
Actually, I have one question. I joined late, so you
Okay.
show us two type of assignment. Like one is very well done. Who is done that one? You show me that.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was saying. The one that that was done well is by the design school students. So they are people who have largely been involved in this, and I don't know the context. I don't know how much time was given to them to do the assignment and or the skill that they have beforehand. Like so, they will undoubtedly be good with color combinations and all that things. And you'll see repeatedly in what when students of our program have done, the color combinations are something that could do with work. The choice of icons, how it is presented, so that sort of artistic aspect of presenting will be a little lower in when we start out. Okay, so yeah, the ones that were done well by design school students, you have that is the reference that is also provided to you in the portal. So make sure you look at it, and as much as you can, you pick from it. Okay.
And second question is like what platform we use? It is on us, or
Yeah,
it
you
is
can use
like
any
we have.
platform. I showed Inkscape today, but I also in the data visualization YouTube channel for live sessions, there are two sessions by the TA from previous terms called Ajay. So he has shown both Inkscape and Figma very well. So you can refer to both of them. So those you can directly follow them also if you are finding it hard to start. So the tools
Okay,
and an example is well done there. You can refer that.
okay, thank you.
All right, then. That's it, guys. Thank you for joining. We'll see you in the next section. Bye bye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.